Let
May the love we're sharing spread its wings and fly across the earth and bring new joy to every soul who is alive. May the blessings of God's grace and peace shine on everyone, and may we all see the light within, within, within. May the love we're sharing spread its wings and fly across the earth and bring new joy to every soul who is alive. May the blessings of God's grace and peace shine on everyone, and may we all see the light within, within, within. May we all see the light within, within, within.
And so, as we make that inner journey to that light that never fades, but yet sometimes is obscured from our view, I invite you to close your eyes so that your attention can be more easily turned inward. I also invite you to take a deep and gentle breath, letting it go with an ah or a sigh as you do. And you may wish to scan your body to see if there's any place that you might be holding some tension. Maybe in the back of your jaw or your shoulders, your lower back, your knees, even your feet, which I hope are connected to the earth. And if you find any place where there might be some tension or discomfort, you may wiggle it out or simply say to that place, peace, be still. Peace, be still. And whenever we engage in meditation, it's quite common to be distracted by sounds in the room or even from outside the room. There's nothing to do about that other than to acknowledge to ourselves sound. And the sound may continue through the entirety of the meditation or it may cease. It's okay either way. It's just a part of life, and life makes noise, sound. And if your eyes are closed, and I hope they are, then you may notice some degree of luminescence. It's totally normal and natural. And there's nothing to do about that other than to simply notice it's just light. And we let it be. And you may notice the temperature of the room you're in may be a little cool or a little warm, or maybe it's just right. And that's just a sensation. kind of like a little ache or pain. It's a sensation. We can take care of it later or not. We just notice it. It doesn't need to be anything different than what it is. And you may notice some feelings that just seem to come unbidden. You sometimes say feelings are thoughts that are not yet speech ripe. You may feel happy or sad or anxious or any of a thousand different emotions. And if so, just notice feelings. We are human beings and we have feelings. And perhaps at a later time, you may discern what the feeling is about. But just right now, just notice it's a feeling and let it go. And there may be thoughts that cross your mind. Thoughts about the song we just heard, thoughts about something that happened 4 years ago, something that might happen next week. We are thinking beings as well as human beings. So, if so, just notice thoughts and let them go as if they were floating down a river. And if it's important, the thought will come back. And if it's not, well, it's just a thought. There are plenty more where that came from. And having taken a moment to be mindful of our being and our sensations, we can just become still and allow ourselves to rest in sacred silence. We don't need the silence to be anything. We don't need it to do anything. We don't need to have huge inspirations. It's just enough that we became still. And in the stillness, we can know the truth of the scripture: be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that that light in you is the truth of you. Be still and be warmed by this inner light as we rest for a few moments in silence. So, as we prepare to bring our attention back to the present moment, I invite you to take another deep and gentle breath and let it go with an ah or a sigh. You may wish to roll your shoulders and wiggle your fingers and toes. And when you're ready to resume our very wonderful time together, I invite you to open your eyes so that we might see the beauty and the light of you. Peace be with you. Amen.
The song this morning, I have to confess, was inspired by the talk Reverend Russell is about to give. So I hope you enjoy. Love, 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 love. There's nothing you can do that can't be done. Nothing you can sing that can't be sung. Nothing you can say, but you can learn how to play the game. It's easy. Nothing you can make that can't be made. No one you can save that can't be saved. Nothing you can do, but you can learn how to be you in time. It's easy. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. Love is all you need. There's nothing you can know that isn't known. Nothing you can see that isn't shown. There's nowhere you can be that isn't where you're meant to be. It's easy. Well, all you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. Love is all you need. Oh, love is all you need. Love is all you need.
All right. Thank you, David. Love is all you need. Let's see a show of hands. Who's on board with that sentiment? All right. So here's the great thing about love. It comes in a lot of different ways of being expressed, a lot of different flavors. And it seems like almost anybody is an expert on this subject. You know, think about all the love songs we had. We just had a love song. All the poems, love poems, and the sonnets, Shakespeare's odes that have been written about love. And we think about what people will do for love. Remember from the musical Cats, won't forget, can't forget what I did for love, which is kind of why I'm not on Broadway, because it's not really my thing. And sometimes, we think about the mama bear love is going to protect her cubs. And we think about agape love, where we think about all the saints who have been known for being all loving. And sometimes, though, you might be aware, love can kind of go in a bad direction. You remember that song, "You Give Love a Bad Name." Some of you may have been there rocking out to that one. But that happens when goes from adoration. We adore certain people and certain things, and sometimes that goes to idolizing, which kind of puts people up on a pedestal. And if you're up on a pedestal, you know what's going to happen. You're going to fall at some point. And then even stalking, because apparently stalkers say, "I just love them so much, I needed to control them." And it's like, okay, well, that gets kind of messy and murky if we're being completely honest. So hopefully you've never had that experience. I actually did once, and it was kind of shocking. So, um, but love is something we all want and we all need. It really is a human need, the need to experience being loved unconditionally, just for being ourselves. And each one of us is indeed, I believe, an individualized expression of the creative magnificence of all that God is. And so we are all worthy of love. And sometimes the effort for us is just to be willing to receive it, especially if we've been hurt before. We'll get into some of that in just a moment. Charles Fillmore, co-founder of the Unity Movement, had a whole lot to say about love. And in fact, in his teaching of the 12 powers of mankind, he identified love as one of those powers which, when fully developed, helps us to demonstrate the totality of Christ consciousness. Listen to what he had to say about that. He said, "Love is a divine attribute. It is an idea in the one mind. God is love, and love is God, or a quality of being. The difference between divine love and human love is that divine love is broad and unlimited, a universal harmonizing power. Human, though, can be based on personality and is selfish, lawless, and fickle." Well, heck. In reality, though, there is only one love. When humans express divine love in limited ways, we make a separation in consciousness, and our expression of love is personal instead of universal. Divine love will establish one in fearlessness and courage. And he goes on to quote 2 Timothy 1:7, "For God gave us not a spirit of fearfulness, but of power and love and discipline." By establishing ourselves in the consciousness of divine love and expressing that love at all times, we are helped to fulfill the command, "Love your enemies, do good to them that hate you, bless them that curse you, pray for them that despitefully use you." It's kind of a tall order if you ask me, but it's doable. Truly believe it's doable. We develop love in our heart by daily asking that the infinite love of God be poured out upon us, by praying, meditating, and affirming that we are one with and express at all times the perfect love of God. Wow, that's big. And that is, as I said, completely doable. We can all express this love, and we are all expressing this love. So, part of what our task is as human beings is to identify where we might be loving selfishly or with limitation, and to see when and how we might expand our capacity to love. And like I said, all of this definition that Fillmore gave us is very lofty idealism, and we in Unity tend to be idealistic folk anyway. We are always following the North Star. But the question for us really becomes, as people who engage in practical Christianity, practical spirituality, how do we actually do this love thing every day? Because if you've been around the block a few times, you no doubt have seen some things or endured some things that may cause you to question how to demonstrate this consciousness of divine love while living, in the real world. Anybody ever have that issue? It's like, okay, how do we pull all these things together? I mean, it's great when we're together at Unity of Davis or in our Unity settings, but then we have to leave and go out there with all those people. Well, it's doable. It is totally doable. Because, it's easy to love when things are going well. But there's another type of love that will require fearlessness and courage. And that version of love is forgiveness. Forgiveness is a huge topic, clearly, but that's really where I want us to land today and find some real practical applications in understanding what forgiveness is and what it is not. The first and foremost question for me is always, how do I practice forgiveness of self, like this guy, as well as others? Because sometimes the failing, our own or somebody else's, can be monumental. And I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but you yourself may have had something you said or did that was really kind of an epic fail. And or else maybe you know people who have done that sort of thing. One of the definitions I've learned about forgiveness is giving love for harm done. Giving love, we consciously are choosing the path of healing. So there are 4 teachings about forgiveness that have served me well and that I would like to share with you. And they take a little time to get into. You may want to make some notes for yourself. The first one, forgiveness does not mean forgetting. You may have heard the adage, forgive and forget, but I think that's very disingenuous because we're not going to forget. X happened, whatever X happened to be, and it left a mark. That said, valuable and life-affirming lessons can be gleaned from the experience of X if we're willing to have a valuable and important lesson out of that experience. There's a saying I like to use, never waste a bad experience, whether it's one that you set up or somebody else set up for you. So how then does one live with a negative memory or the effects of a negative experience that happened to you or that you did or that you did not do? I mean, because we all have memory, and memory just, we can't make it go away. If somebody tells you don't remember something, of course you're going to remember it. So we have to learn to live with it. So for me, the first thing in this notion of forgiveness not meaning forgetting is to simply not to deny. Acting as if something didn't happen only buries it in consciousness where it will fester with no good result. That's called sublimating. And that sublimated energy will rear its ugly head somehow, some way. So we don't deny it. Whatever happened, happened. Whoever did it, whether it was you, me, or somebody else. Second part of that, talk it out. If the offender is somebody with whom you're in relationship or the person you offended, maybe you can talk it out with them. Maybe not. Maybe you can talk it out with a therapist, maybe a confidant. Give Reverend Rich a call. Literally, though, the whole point of talking out is to get it off your chest, because otherwise, whatever it is will be heavy on your heart. And you've got to find some way to get that energy off your heart. Third thing we can do about not forgetting something and living with it is to dress it with our spiritual tools, namely the faculty of release, one of our 12 powers, or denial in the healthy sense of the word. So when it comes to mind, affirm, I let this go. Letting go frees your life energy for more constructive aims, rather than using your life energy to carry around this burden. And in all probability, you'll have to let it go any number of different times, many times, because, and I may be a little crass here, our conscious and unconscious thought patterns tend to be habitual, with the accent on the bitch part, meaning stuff keeps coming back and coming back. So don't beat yourself up. Whenever it comes to mind, take a deep breath and repeat, I let this go. I let this go. And then the last part of forgiving, as not forgetting as a part of forgiving, is to simply accept this happened. It's a memory, but it no longer dictates how I live my life. All of us have bad things that have happened to us, or bad things we may have done consciously or unconsciously. And empowered by the indwelling Christ, we all have the capacity to overcome and move on. You can have a memory, but don't allow the memory to have you. So the first point is forgiveness does not mean forgetting, and you can live with the memory of whatever. You use our tools. The second point I want to share about forgiveness is forgiveness does not mean excusing. Either you did X or they did X, and there were reasons for doing so, and probably really lousy ones or unhelpful ones or ignorant ones, but there were reasons nonetheless. Understanding at least one's own reasoning can lead to a greater degree of self-awareness. Self-awareness is profound spiritual work, and it always pays off handsomely. Now, you may never know why they did what they did, but you can certainly learn to understand yourself better. And here's the thing. It takes personal courage and faith and time to do self-reflection, to lean into the question, what can I learn from this that will make me a better person? Notice I asked the question, what can I learn from this that will make me a better person? You see, I asked the question that I want to have answered. The question is, how can I be a better person because of this? That's what I call putting the indwelling Christ to work. And if you don't allow it that term, then substitute something like spirit within. Spirit within is helping me to learn something from this. It's challenging work because let's face it, you might learn some things about yourself you either don't like or didn't even know were there. Or perhaps you might learn that you have some undeveloped or unacknowledged strengths that you can really capitalize on. Yay, you. But you have to be willing to take that inner journey and risk exposing your vulnerabilities to yourself. And I think this is why people in 12-step programs who want to have their sanity restored must do a searching and fearless moral inventory. It's really a good practice for anybody, if you ask me. Did I already say don't waste a bad experience? Chances are I might say it again. Now, the third part about this forgiveness consciousness is forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. A lot of times we put those two things together. Those are two separate things, and they may or may not come together. The idea of kiss and make up can happen, but sometimes it can't, or it even shouldn't. It's great when reconciliation can happen because truly it can. I've seen it any number of times, but not in every case. In the process of discernment around the idea of reconciliation, one can learn some crucial lessons about personal boundaries and a healthy ego positioning. So what do I mean by this? Boundaries establish what behavior you will accept from other people, and they establish what behavior other people can expect from you. This includes such things as physical boundaries, like how much touch you will allow other people to do to you. Intimacy boundaries, as in how much of your thoughts and feelings you'll really share. To professional boundaries, such as how much shop talk will you allow before you start charging for your time. I've seen any number of doctors, attorneys, or lawyers get into a conversation and people start asking needling questions and they have to say, we need to make an appointment for this. It can happen in your line of work as well. And if you don't already have, or if you haven't had healthy or appropriate boundaries, or if they're kind of inconsistent, it may feel awkward to begin saying things like, please don't speak to me like that, or I didn't say you could hug me, or I prefer not to talk about that. But with practice, this sort of boundary making will come to feel normal. Did I say don't ever waste a bad experience? The fourth piece I want to share around this forgiveness idea is being willing to forgive is enough. You know, on the cross at Calvary, Jesus is recorded to have said, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they are doing. That's in Luke chapter 22. Notice he did not say, and it wasn't recorded, hey guys, I forgive you, we're good. No. Good Friday was just too awful. However, his words show that he was willing for forgiveness to happen. He wouldn't stop it. But at that moment, even Jesus couldn't forgive, in spite of his earlier multiple teachings on the subject. Sometimes all we have to do is get out of the way. This is another version of let go and let God. You might be surprised at the way Spirit moves in you and in a difficult situation. Willingness is the key. So perhaps a useful thought to hold will be this. I am willing for forgiveness to happen, but right now I can't do it. I'm willing for forgiveness to happen, and I'll not stand in the way. I'm willing for forgiveness to happen, but no, not today. May it be done. And that's good enough. When you're ready, it'll happen. But you don't have to rush it to be a truth student. There is no timer that people are using to say, will you do your forgiveness work? All you have to know is it's in process. And don't be surprised when the miracle happens, as they say. And again, my mantra is never waste a bad experience. There are so many ways to love. And learning to love is a lifetime occupation. I think it's ultimately our whole purpose here on this planet. But I suggest that living in a forgiveness consciousness is the most profound way to live the divine idea of love. It isn't easy, but it's worth it. And more importantly, you're worth it. Peace be with you. Namaste.